Welcome everybody to It Tastes Different Gaming Appetizers. What's in the news? Microsoft is defending their purchase of Activision Blizzard by saying the studio doesn't make must-have games. Let's talk about that. So everybody is kind of in an uproar still after Microsoft announced that they were buying Activision Blizzard. And there are developers and certain other console makers that are pretty pissed off about this, saying that this sale will influence gamers over to that console side. I'm not going to say which game console developer has said this, but Sony, but they are not happy with it. So let's dive into, is this a must-have? Do they make must-have games? I mean, that's what this comes down to. Pat, what do you think? Do you think they make must-have games?
In my opinion, do they make must-have games that are only on the console? The answer is no, because they don't. Because I can play any one of those games on the PC. Which Microsoft would never do. But that's just my opinion. I mean, I don't think Call of Duty is a must-have game, but a lot of people do think that it's a must-have. I mean, they make tons of money off of it, right? A new one comes out every year pretty much, and people buy it. I mean, as much as I bitch and moan and piss and moan about it, I buy it because I want to play with you guys. If it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't buy the damn thing. But I'd rather play with you guys than not, so I end up buying the damn game. But I mean, if that's their whole thing, is they would be driving more gamers away from Sony and to Microsoft. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense, right? Because Sony has way more market share than Microsoft does in the Xbox gaming world, console gaming world, I should say. So in console gaming, Sony still has the market share over Microsoft. So that's a weak point in my opinion. But it does create a unique position of antitrust, and that's why all these countries are kind of looking at Microsoft, because I think the UK launched a investigation last month, I think is when they did. They launched a month or two ago, basically, and I think even the US FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, is still looking into whether they're going to make a hoopla about it or something like that. So, must have, in my opinion, that's a must have console game. The answer is not really. But that's my opinion, on the console gaming thing. Because I don't consider, like I said, Call of Duty a must have. But, by Microsoft buying them, it doesn't stop them from making their PC titles on PC, like WoW, World of Warcraft, and things like that. So, I don't see that as a leg to stand on myself, but like I said, I'm probably in the minority in that aspect of thinking Call of Duty is not a must-have game, but to each their own, and I will let everybody have their own opinion, and that's the way it should be. They make their own decisions, but at what point does your opinion override legalities, right? What can we really say as a console must-have game that they're making right now? Really? I can't think of anything, in my opinion. Nick, what do you think, man? Do you think that they have a console game that is a must-have that is going to drive people from one console to the other?
I think no. I mean, personally, not. But I think Call of Duty could definitely, if it wasn't on a Sony system. I mean, it's still going to be on PC, right? Microsoft's not going to cut their leg off there and not put it onto the PC. Could they stop putting it on Sony's systems? They could. I don't see Microsoft doing that, though. I see them, because these games have been multi-platform for so long and people expect them to be kind of everywhere. I just feel like Microsoft probably wouldn't chop the leg off at Sony and say it's not coming to that system and still continue. Maybe certain games they may not, but I would imagine like Call of Duty would probably still go multi-platform. But could it drive some people, not necessarily away, I should say, like not for individuals to leave Sony completely, right? But to go out and buy an Xbox if Call of Duty was exclusive to that. And it's going to be on PC as well, but maybe they don't have a PC that can play it, or and stuff like that. Maybe they're just more console based. So, yeah, I would say no. I don't think there is. What do you think, Shane?
Well, I mean, just Pitfall alone is going to drive me to wherever they're at. I mean, they make Pitfall, so. I mean, if you think about it, I'm looking at just a quick list here. Activision itself makes Call of Duty. That is the biggest thing they make besides Warcraft. And that's just, my opinion. But if you look at their list of games, 95% of it is Call of Duty of some sort. Then you throw in some Tony Hawk and a few other older titles, World of Warcraft. I don't see the Call of Duty being a console mover. I really don't. I don't think that they have enough. 10 years ago, I think they would have moved those consoles. But I don't think they have that. They don't have that now. I mean, Destiny would probably move some consoles. That's why Sony bought them. But they're also going to go, they're still supposed to be, I think so. Destiny's huge. But that's why these companies buy these developers, because they want those games to build up their brand and to get people to buy into it, plain and simple. For Sony to whine about that after they bought Sucker Punch and Bungie and Naughty Dog, it's ridiculous to do all that. Plus, they buy all the exclusive rights for like Final Fantasy and things like that. I mean, that's a big screw you, in my opinion, from Sony. I mean, you have plenty and have bought plenty to move consoles, to get people to come to your side of the console war, however you want to call it. That's pretty much a BS thing to say, and it kind of chaps my butt, because Sony does it all the time. Microsoft does it. Unfortunately, Activision Blizzard is one of the biggest companies out there. But, they're also taking a big decline over the last year, too. I mean, when was the last game? I know Pat's not a big Call of Duty guy, but when's the last game of Call of Duty that you saw and go, shit, I got to have, Nick?
That's easy. I'll say it for Nick. It's Sekiro.
Call of Duty, yeah. Sekiro.
Call of Duty Sekiro?
Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. That's the whole reason we bought that one, was because Nick wondered when we reviewed it. It wasn't a bad game.
And it's fantastic. Yeah, but I mean, everybody's complaining because Call of Duty's the big one. I just don't see Call of Duty where it used to be, and makes me want to buy it. I mean, the only reason we bought the last few was reviews. I mean, that's the only reason we got the last few. That's the only reason we ever touched them. And we were done playing them and done reviewing them. We were done with them. And I love Call of Duty typically. Typically enjoy the heck out of it. But they've really lost their way. And it's because they just milked them out. And, they just quit being put innovation into them and trying new things. I mean, last cool thing they put into a game was moving fish. So that was awesome. Or their canine companion. Whoop-de frickin' do. I don't see anything that they do right now is a console mover. I just don't.
I mean, Microsoft has not outright came out and said that they would never remove Call of Duty from PlayStation. Their exact words were, to be clear, Microsoft will continue to make Call of Duty and other popular Activision Blizzard titles available on PlayStation through the term of any existing agreement with Activision. So once those agreements are over, they're going to do whatever they want to do. And, there may be some sour grapes there, right? Because Destiny has always been Destiny's a perfect example, as Shane brought up, has always been an Xbox, has always been on Game Pass, right? Destiny has always been on Game Pass since it's been out there. And then once, Sony got them, what's the first thing they do? They yank it from Game Pass. It's no longer available on Game Pass at all. So, if I was Microsoft, I'd be like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Phil Spencer, I don't know what to think if he would do that or not. To me, it makes sense if he's trying to make his console the dominant console in the market, that they want to remove the ability for his competition to get the games that they own. Because Sony's not afraid to do that to them, so they shouldn't be afraid to do it to them. So, it is what it is. Unfortunately, it sucks because I wish Sony would put all their games out on both, and I wish Microsoft put all theirs out on both, so I didn't have to own both consoles. But it is what it is. I mean, I love Sony games. I don't love the Sony console. I mean, it's my least used console. I use the Switch more than I use my damn PlayStation, and that should say something. I use my Sony console for Sony exclusive, PlayStation exclusives. That is it. I hate the interface in that console. I just don't like the overall console, and I wish I could play those games where I wanted to play them and not just have to be forced into that ecosystem when I don't have to be. I think Sony is way more anti-consumer than Microsoft as well, and I would love to vote that direction with my wallet, but since we review games for both consoles, I have to have one and have to be available to play those games, and things like that. But I believe Sony is a very anti-consumer company. And their whole digital marketplace thing just goes to prove it to me, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that they are very anti-consumer, no deals, no specials. And right now, the governments are the ones that's going to have to step in and say if this is an antitrust or to any type of law, issue like that, and put a stop to this. But I believe there's a time limit on this that they've got to get to, that they've got to like the end of the month, end of September or something to get to before they miss their opportunity. But like I said, I don't think they have a must-have game that would force people to, but I mean, I that's not true. I do believe there's plenty of Call of Duty players that are must-be players. Like, I have to play this game. And will that cause them to go to Xbox? I don't know. But time will tell, right?
Yeah. Also, you got to think about the future too, because Activision has some really great developers. So what they come up with in the future, that might be more enticing to, convert some Sony players, some Switch players over to Microsoft's side. So it's all a wait and see, but we're talking 3-4 years down the road, see what happens. I don't know. I don't think it's anything for gamers to worry about, at least for the next couple of years, because I mean, Microsoft ain't gonna keep from taking the money from Sony. I mean, they'll put that stuff out there, fulfill those contracts, give them DLC and all that, and they'll collect that money. But they may stinge up and keep some DLCs and things like that for themselves. So I don't know. But what do you think, Nick? Do you think anything out there, any of those developers that Activision, that go along with Activision, you think anything they have is going to say, oh, I'm glad I have Xbox over PlayStation now?
I think anymore. For me personally, and it's must-haves are basically set on the individual, right? As far as what the individual thinks is a must-have. For me personally, there really isn't a must-have. Like, I don't look at Xbox and I don't look at Sony and go, oh wow, that's the must-have title for me. Personally, I like to play a variety of things and a lot of different things. I don't buy a console because it has Uncharted on it, right? Or it has Halo on it or something like that. Like, I even though I like those games, I'm fine playing other stuff. I don't have to buy the console for X. And nowadays, a lot of those games are coming to PC. I mean, even on the Sony side. So, is there unlike the old days, like I said, to each individual person, yes. But I mean, overall, I almost look at it like, is there any more a must-have for consoles anymore? Is that term still viable in today's world, right? Do people still look at a console and say it's a must-have because it has X, right? Maybe some for Spider-Man, Spider-Man, you know them, Spider-Man. For Activision Blizzard, it could be Call of Duty. But those, again, that's an individual preference. For me, it's none of those. Like I'm going to own all the consoles because I like to own all the consoles and I like to play everything. So there is no must-have. There are games I'd like to play, and there's games I'd like to own and experience, but it doesn't make me go out and spend $600 on a console because of that one game. Maybe back in the day, there was definitely stuff like that, right? When things are a little bit more exclusive back in the day. If you think about it, back on Nintendo and the original PlayStation, the original Xbox, you had those exclusive titles. Even third parties that exclusively went to certain brands and stuff like that. Nowadays, it's almost, it's kind of strange because when you go on the Xbox, you go on the PlayStation, and you start looking at the store. Because, I go on there and I look at the store and I look at things that are on there, even on the Switch, and I look at the games that are for sale and that are available. And it's like, this is the same catalog of games that I can get on any of the consoles. And really, it just comes down to what are those few exclusive titles that are on each, right? On Nintendo, you got their Nintendo type games, right? Sony, you got your Sony, your Spider-Mans and your Uncharted and stuff like that. But everything else, if you think about when those games come out, they're very few and far between, right? It's not like there's an Uncharted every couple weeks or something like that. So you're looking at maybe exclusive games for a console, maybe up to 5, probably less than that a year. Right. So really, you're filling out the rest of the year with just third parties, which if you look at all three systems, excuse me, if you look at all three systems, you're pretty much seeing the gamut of every single thing that's already out there. So do those, less than 5 exclusive games that come out on every console, are those considered must-haves anymore? I don't know. I don't know if the must-have is really a thing nowadays. I feel like it's just not like it used to be. It's not. I just don't feel like there's anything that's must-have anymore.
I guess there's no reason to beat this thing around to death, but I can't think of anything they've done in the last 5 years that makes me have to have it. So I can see why Microsoft bought them, because they are dropping.
For Activision Blizzard, no. Especially for Activision Blizzard, no, there's not.
But
you didn't like Sekiro enough, Nick?
Oh, I love Sekiro, but Sekiro's on everything, so
yeah, true. But we could get a new Pitfall now. Just gonna put that out there. Pitfall Harry's coming back.
I did like it back on the PlayStation 2 or 1 or whatever. 2. The 3D one,
that was on 2. Yeah. All right. Well, you guys have anything else, Pat? All right. Well, again. All right. Well, again, thanks for watching. Make sure you give us some feedback. Tell us what you think. Do you really think this is a purchase of this importance that makes you switch teams or be devoted to one side or whatnot, or is it just a bunch of people whining and complaining? So. Let us know what you think. Give us your feedback on it. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit the notifications button. Tell us what you think most of all, because we enjoy it. And until next time, see ya.